So thank you both to you. Right, let's move on to the main business of the day. We do start talking, don't we? We're 13 minutes in, Vitor, and we still haven't got around to the main business of the day, which, of course, is very contemporary, controversial. And it is this whole matter of the changes in the citizenship laws here in Portugal, which comes after a whole load of changes. You know, the NHR went. There's a massive problem with CEF changing to IMA. Golden visa people have been delayed, family reunification, all sorts of chaos with residency and citizenship. But this latest citizenship stuff, where they're extending possibly from 5 to 10 years for foreigners, 5 to 7 years for CPLP people. What do you make of it? How is it for you as a Portuguese citizen to see all the noise around this?
Right. So first of all, there is a Portuguese saying that goes, "Aceita que dói menos."
Sorry, say that again. But of course, there's a Portuguese phrase. There's a Portuguese phrase for everything. What is it for citizenship?
It's not specifically for citizenship. It's general life advice, which is "Aceita que dói menos." Okay. Can you tell what that means?
An olive gives less. I'm only in week 2.
That was a good guess. So aceita means referring to you, like accept it, right?
Oh, okay,
kind of like just accept it.
Yes.
Que dói menos. It will hurt less.
Yes.
So
okay.
First of all,
yes.
Just accept it because it will hurt you less.
Yes.
Right? It's like, hey, it happens, whatever, just accept it. That's the first thing, because I never expect the government to make my life better. So I know it sucks, but it's like, it's already my expectation. So yes. I just need to work twice as hard so I can work even more. And then again, half of my work goes to them, but it is what it is, right?
Yes.
Now, absolutely. As for these changes, so first of all, let's just take a step back. Like, my views in general is I believe that each and every country, their government should, in principle, I believe, first of all, think about what's best for their own country and their population, right? And only then think about other countries and people from other countries. So, for example, what is best for Portugal, and then focus on that. And from there, you start expanding, right? On this case, what I see, I don't know, it feels like people are just kind of wildly swinging, and then there's all kinds of political parties, each pushing in one direction, which usually ends up that we have solutions that don't really help a lot of people, okay? So just some context on what I feel may be going on here. And again, I'm not a politician, I'm not a political commentator. This is just a guy with my own opinions from what I've seen and experienced, okay?
Yeah.
So it seems like part of this issue is, again, the panic that everybody has been having about, house prices and whatever, and everything is getting expensive and so on and so forth. And it seems like a lot of people are blaming foreigners for it. Now, whether or not that is true, for the government, it doesn't really matter what the truth is. What matters is public perception, because that's what will get them votes or not. And so I kind of feel like that's probably a bit of the angle that they're going for here. Now, do I believe that it is foreigners that are coming here that are causing problems? I mean, of course, supply and demand is a thing. But if we think about it a bit more logically, so usually foreign buyers, I think last year or 2 years ago, were just around 14%. And I think of those, only about 17,000 were American, for example, or from US countries. So even if that was the case, the kind of clients we usually work with, that's quite a small number of people, right? Not only that, if you consider that usually foreign buyers, I know not every American is rich or wealthy, right? But even so, they do tend to have a little bit more than what a starter average family could have. And maybe they would buy properties around the 300,000 mark, maybe a bit over to 400,000, something like that. So I don't think that would really take away from the starter homes, which are usually the focus when it comes to these political issues, right? I don't see those kind of buyers taking away from starter families, people who wanted
Mhm.
to buy their first home or rent a place or something like that. Um, so I don't feel like that would cause an issue. And then especially if we're talking about retirees or the D7 visa, people who already need to have passive income in order to come to the country, right? Those people could sustain themselves. They wouldn't really need to rely on the government for financing or supported whatever. They could pay for themselves, and they can contribute to the economy and the local businesses and all of that. I know many
Anyone who,
stores.
yeah, anyone who's been through
Yeah,
the D7 process has proved that, haven't they?
exactly. And
Yeah.
I know many stores that are and restaurants that can only be open because foreigners come here, right?
Hmm.
The other thing to consider is that I don't really think you can say technically that homes are getting more expensive. What I think the closest to reality is that the euro and the dollar are becoming worth less because they've been printing money like crazy. For
Yes.
example, when I moved here to Ponte Lima about 7 years ago, there's a specific kind of bread that cost like 18, 19 cents, and now it costs 34 cents.
Yeah. That's a big jump, isn't it, in percentage
Yeah,
terms?
but people will be like, oh, it's just 15 cents.
Yes. Yes.
But if you look at percentages, it's almost double the increase,
Yes.
which
And
is
that is
roughly the
the
same growth that that real estate had. So I
I
have
think
to blame the
economists.
Americans for increasing the price of bread.
Well, also the economists might start using the Costa pound index as a way of measuring economic.
Sure, yeah,
Right.
right.
Yes.
And yeah, again, if you look, for example, at the Golden Visa, right? The Golden Visa, again, it would be for properties 500,000 or higher,
Mm.
or even in places where it's a historical center or lower prices or whatever, it could be a lower amount. Again, I don't think most people would really compete for that price range of properties. I guess maybe in Lisbon, I suppose. But still, I saw that as an incentive to bring wealthy people here to invest in the country, to bring wealth, and to get things moving forward. I see most of these government policies, honestly, as they have one intention, which usually the intention tends to be good, but it almost always backfires in the opposite direction,
Yes,
right?
it's true. I mean, that's human, isn't it? That what is it? The road to
Yes,
hell is paved with good intentions. No good,
exactly.
no good deed goes unpunished. Absolutely,
Exactly.
and politicians
So,
know this. I think.
to give a direct example, right? I mean, people on the D7, they go through so many hoops and hurdles and nonsense for so long
Mm.
when they have the money and capital to come here and live on their own. And then you see people who are like basically exploiting the system.
Yes.
I think there are some people that like come in here, right? They start a company like small store. They hire like 50 economic migrants from some other country, pay their social security and wages and whatever for a year. So you have 50 people technically working at the tiny store, and then they fire all of them. They apply for unemployment, and then they close the company down. And
Yeah.
so you have 50 people earning from the country without actually doing any work, and so they can all live with it. And the people who hired them now get a cut of all of their social security benefits.
And
So the people
this
who
was a pattern, wasn't it? I mean, this started, I think, in 2016 with the manifestation of interest, where you could just come to Portugal to work and say, "I am interested in working in Portugal," find a job of that kind, and then find yourself in the system. And I think, as you're suggesting there, when this scales up, that becomes an unfair burden on the infrastructure of society.
Yep.
Ultimately,
I mean, if you create an incentive, you get more of it. It's
yes,
obvious, right?
yes,
And the thing that upsets me a little bit is that, again, all of these people who come here to just flee from their countries, they have so many ways of doing this, and many of them are basically leeching from the system for nothing, and then they get all kinds of benefits and assistance and whatever. But people who want to come here to live better lives and they can afford it, they again. So, for example, rent, big problem, right? Huge of demand, lots of supply. Yeah, a huge demand and not enough supply.
hmm
and most people can't really rent a place now. Everything is super, super expensive. But people who come here on the D7, right, they must have a rental before they even go to their appointment.
Yeah, right.
To
Yes,
get their
absolutely.
visa.
Yes.
Of course, all of the rentals are going to be dried up.
Yes.
Why don't you just give them a visa, right? Let them come into the country, maybe stay at an Airbnbs for a while, and then they can explore, and then they can figure out a bit more easily if they would prefer renting because they still don't know the country very well, or if they would go ahead and buy directly.
Yes.
It's again, it's completely backwards in my opinion. But
and it's complicated and nuanced, isn't it? I suspect if you or I were in this situation that some of the people coming to Portugal are in, that we've been talking about, we do exactly the same thing. It's human nature to take advantage of an incentive. I did that coming here to Portugal.
And I'm not blaming that. If there was a country where if I moved there, I would get 20,000 euros per month and get to stay at the luxury hotel or whatever, why wouldn't I do it?
Yes, exactly.
It's not the fault of the people exploiting the system. It's the fault of the system for allowing itself to be exploited.
Which brings us then to the changes that have been proposed. And I don't, to be fair, I suppose, in a sense, to the politicians and the government, there's no easy way of doing this, is there? They're not going to be coming up with a set of proposals where universally people go, yeah, that's perfect. That stops the problem that you've outlined. That gives Portugal more kind of self-respect and self-esteem because the standards have been changed. That's going to hurt somebody, isn't it? It's going to cause political friction. It's going to cause personal challenges for people.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be easy.
There are ways of doing it, but again, usually, and I say this in the kindest way possible, right? Most people are really stupid about most subjects, right? I probably understand a little bit about certain issues, but there are many issues. I don't even know our issues or that exist. So when it comes to politics, there are some things that people understand a little bit, but most things we don't.
Yeah.
The issue is usually what's best for a country or the people or whatever it is doesn't feel good to the masses. And I think that's why politics always tends to devolve into the nonsense we see all over the world.
Yes.
It's because the way we have government gives an incentive to reward people who are lazy and entitled, in the sense that, for example, if you tell people that, hey, we're going to do these things this way and you're going to have to work hard, but you get to keep the fruits of your labor, that takes responsibility and effort and work, and nobody really wants that. Yes. And then you have the other politician who says, hey, if you elect me, I will give you money, I will give you assistance, I will give you benefits. It's like, oh, I prefer that because then you don't have to work as much.
Who would? Yeah, exactly. Go back to human nature. What are most people going to choose? Of course, the easy option.
Yeah.
And I suppose by definition, politics is paternalistic, and it allows people to be, maybe play more to their sense of entitlement or victimhood or not, or being special and not making things happen for themselves.
Yeah, and again, I think that if everybody, at least for a year, had to run a company, I think politics would completely change. Because that's when you really understand what's going on. So, for example, even a few years before, right, most people will think, oh, man, life is hard, we work too much, we don't get paid enough, they should raise the minimum wage, right? But then, when you have your own company, okay, just the fact that I have a company open, now I have to pay over 300 euros in Social Security every month.
Yes.
Right? Which doubles in summer and Christmas. And I have to pay my accountant 150 euros plus tax, which goes close to 200. So I have about a minimum wages worth of expenses every month just for having a company open.
It's crazy, yeah.
And then I work hard. I finally get the client. Let's say I get paid like 2,000 euros. Well, I only get to keep, minus those fixed expenses. Okay, that's 1,500. And then minus tax. So I'm about to 1,000. And then I have to pay the profit tax. So I get maybe 700 out of those 2,000 that my client pay me. Maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you look at that, you go, oh, the government is leeching all of our work. So it's not the minimum wage that's the issue, because then if I were to hire an employee, guess what? For me to pay them the 700 something minimum wage, I think it's 800 now. So I already am at zero profit, but then I also have to pay their social security. So in reality, for them to earn 800 euros, I would have to pay like 1,200 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really punishing those who want to try and contribute. Like, we'd love to be hiring more people. We'd love to help the community, younger people, those who want to do something, want to get out there, help someone, increase their skills, improve themselves. But it's cost prohibitive. The only
really
people who can handle it are the giant corporations who don't have the best interest of the public, right? Because they can afford it. They can have tax breaks. And that's why it always bothers me a little bit when I see people saying, oh, tax the rich, tax the corporations, because I know that will only harm the small guys.
Yeah, right. I think you're absolutely
right.
Look
at COVID.
Oh, let's not go there right now. But yeah, I think that was a pretty good experiment, wasn't it, in understanding quite a few things that are going on.
Yes, small businesses, they were devastated. The only ones who made it were the big corporations.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the rich got richer in that time, didn't they? For sure. Yeah, I think.
And again, trying to punish the rich will only make things worse, guys. So don't vote on someone who you think are going to hurt the rich.
Yeah, when I say the rich got richer, I don't mean the kind of relatively more wealthy guy up the street. I mean the super rich. I mean the corporations and those who use them to vacuum the wealth from the lower layers upward. I think most people acknowledge that transfer of wealth that happened in these last 5 years. So, well, okay. To come back to citizenship. Do you see that then as just a symptom of a general problem, challenge, and direction of travel? These are seemingly intransigent problems. They are systematic failures, and perhaps that's what we're looking at. We are looking at a breakdown of a system. So whilst it's being tinkered with, it is a bit like the furniture on the Titanic. The main the ways of us administering our societies do look like they're on their knees at the moment, don't they? Around the world.
Yeah.
This type of way of making societies work, although many would claim they are the best systems we've ever seen, are not really working very well. And I think there is a cry, whether it's explicit or implicit, for something new and different that serves humanity a little bit better. I don't know what that is yet, but I know a lot of people want it. Are you in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what it seems, what I feel like is happening, and this is all over the world, I think, not just Portugal, but many European countries, the America, Canada.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The sense that I get is that people are still willingly trying to close their eyes and pretend everything is la la land and hoping the world is sunshine and rainbows. Yes. And trying to be the good guys, and again, good intentions, right?
Yes.
But the reality doesn't care about your good intentions. So to be maybe a bit more specific, so let me put it this way. So for example, nowadays we have AI, right? They started developing AI to be super logical and examining everything and recognizing patterns and noticing things. Yet, most of the effort and resources and time spent on developing AI is to sanitize its language and to not allow it to talk about certain things. So I know it may sound a bit weird to say, but it's like, what's the point of creating a system that can analyze what's going on and give you objective, factual answers based on data, and then you don't let it talk about certain topics because they're controversial?
That's an excellent analysis. That's an excellent analysis.
again, I think that only when people decide, you know what, guys, let's just face reality for what it is, and then go from there, that we can actually start moving forward slowly and actually start making things better. So, for example, like I've seen many cases around the world where nowadays, for example, if some crime happens anywhere, or I don't know, something bad happens, it's like one side is always trying to figure out what the race or ethnicity of that criminal was so they can blame them. And the other side will be trying to hide or conceal the race or ethnicity of that person so they don't feed into the other side. And I think neither of those is particularly good for society. My view is, let's stop treating people based on the content of their character.
Yes.
If somebody commits a crime, it doesn't matter if they're a national, if they're an immigrant, what they look like, what languages they speak. You put them in jail.
Yes.
If somebody doesn't commit a crime or whatever, then okay, good. You're part of the society. I think that's the issue. Like everybody's trying to collect these
It's far too
social
simple.
brownie points.
Yeah, far too simple, Vitor. But I absolutely agree with you in the sense that we have to face the truth, the reality of what's going on, don't we? Without too many of these abstractions, conceptualizations, polarizations, we are mired. We're stuck in a terrible mess of analysis rather than getting down to the basics of what's going on and dealing with it, which brings us back beautifully to the Portuguese saying you gave us, which works on a number of levels, like all great wisdom. Because on the
Aceita que
one,
dói menos.
yeah, I wonder if you could type that for me in the private chat,
Of
because
course.
we have to make that saying of the day, because we do have a Portuguese saying of the day over at the Portugal Club, and there are over 500. I think there are many of them. I think we're up to nearly 600 comments in that thread, many of which are
Jesus.
actually Portuguese sayings. Well, this is the Portuguese have so many sayings, but accept it and it will hurt less could be accept society as it is with all the corruption and polarization, and it will hurt less. On a level, that's true. It's like ignorance is bliss. But then on another level, if we really lift the carpet up and see what we've been sweeping under it for decades now, some would say hundreds of years, if we face that truth, we can then accept a different way of being and a different style of society, perhaps.
Yeah, I see it a little bit different. What I mean by accept, it's not to surrender. It's just
Yes.
that be aware that that's the way things are right now.
Yes.
And don't expect it to just change in your favor just because you want it to.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, so aceita que dói menos. Accept it and it will hurt less. The wisdom of the morning from our man in the north, Vitor Costa, who, of course, joins us from his company. The heroic effort of being an entrepreneur in Portugal, portugaltalk.com. Thank you so much for being here this morning, Vitor. Final word to you, and don't forget to give lots of love, please, to Maria and all your family up there in the north. But yeah, final word to you.
Okay, I guess this is a bit more towards the people themselves, because I've worked with, on the case of Americans, right? I worked with Republicans, I worked with Democrats, I've had trans clients, I've had cowboys, super ultra right Trump supporters. So I can talk to every person and see how they feel. One thing I can say is that if you come to Portugal and you don't even talk politics, you almost can't tell who someone is or what side, quote unquote, they're on, because most people, believe it or not, and I know this is hard for some of you to believe, most people, right or left, they agree with about 95% of things.
Yeah.
At least.
Yes.
But we're now in such a polarized world where people just, as soon as they feel you are loosely related to one side or the other, they immediately, it's like each side has opposite positions on everything. And if you have one opinion on one of those sides, they immediately label you with everything that side believes in. And against everything your side believes in. Right? That is nonsense. I've seen people who have known each other here for years. They were great friends. And then just because on the last US elections, someone voted for the other person. Now they got a huge wall of text insulting them, and it makes no sense. You know that person, you know their character for at least 2 years. How do you now call her all of those horrible things just because of who she voted for? You know that's not who she is. But anyway, and I really think that only when people can start talking again, which I'm not sure if that's going to happen anytime soon. But if that doesn't happen, if people don't start listening to the other side, instead of going like, oh, you're a Trump supporter, you're evil, it's like, can you tell me why you voted for him? And ask to listen and not to argue or prove wrong.
Yes.
Because regardless of what the truth is, everybody has their own perspectives and they're valid to them. You trying to call them wrong reasons for what they've experienced doesn't work.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, things are just going to get more and more and more polarized, and it's going to snap. So that's what I wonder. Like, for example, all of these things that I don't want to get into specifics, but a lot of things have been happening, like that have good intentions, but I feel like it's only making things worse on the other way because people are so fervent about it.
Absolutely. The problem with you, Vitor, is you're far too interesting. This should only have been a 20-minute chat, and we're now at 40 minutes, and you've dropped some real wisdom and truth bombs on us this morning in a very peaceful way. It has to be said as well. And we have to be careful. And I love Portugal from the point of view that I think people with, up to now anyway, people with different political opinions are able to be in the same room and listen to each other and have a conversation.
Just not soccer.
Yeah, I mean, let's not go there, for heaven's sake. But that sounds right, doesn't it? Keep it on a football pitch and in a football ground, and let's keep the civilized discourse in the political scenario at the family picnic, where we can still have something to eat and a drink together and not be afflicted by the ideological possession, I think it's called, isn't it? Where people are overcome. And I think a lot of it is to do with trauma and grief, but that's a whole other subject as well. And healing is required, isn't it? And I think the healing can begin with a human connection. It has to, doesn't it? We have to connect as humans with the 95% that you talk about, which is to do with understanding and compassion and connection, and focus less on that 5%, that lethal 5% that is dividing people in the most horrific ways. Vitor, you're wise beyond your years. It's great to hang out with you, especially on this Monday morning, giving us Portuguese sayings, insight into the situation politically, and that grand overview there. And of course, your gift to economics, the Costa Pau Index, which will be used, I'm sure, in textbooks in years to come. Have a great day. Love to the family. Love to the north of Portugal. Take care, mate. Bye for now.
Guys.
Ciao, ciao.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun